Hey fans and subscribers, this is your host Joe on the Gaming for Insight channel with another video on which handheld plays it better, where originally I compared my Steam Deck LCD with my ROG Ally 2023 for a game. You may have seen my video in the segment for the Skyrim Anniversary Edition. However, I have more handhelds to share with you in this segment now, so I am changing the segment name to Which Handheld Plays It Best. For this video, the game of choice is Mad Max, which was released in 2015 and developed by Avalanche Studios. I showed off some gameplay in one of my videos on the channel with the 1X Player X1. In the game, you play as Max Rokaninsky, former highway patrol officer that transformed into a survivalist. As Max, you meet a hunchback mechanic by the name of Chumbucket and rebuild a car called the Magnum Opus that you get to drive and use on the search for what Max refers to as the Plains of Silence. However, the true inspiration for me selecting this game for the segment is the movie Furiosa, a Mad Max saga, which released last week as of making this video. You may have gone to see the film and wondered, hey, is there a Mad Max game I can play on one of my handhelds? Well, yes, indeed, there sure is. So in this video, I share my experience from playing this game at varying TDP levels on my two Steam Decks, which are the Steam Deck LCD and limited edition Steam Deck OLED, my two handhelds with the AMD Ryzen Z1 Extreme, which are the Lenovo Legion Go and the Asus ROG Ally 2023, my two handhelds with the AMD Ryzen 7 7840U, which includes the Radeon 780M graphics component. Those handhelds are the Neo 2S and the 1X Player 1X Fly. And lastly, my handheld with the Intel Core Ultra 7 155H, which is the 1X Player X1. The TDP levels I tried are 9 watt, 15 watt, 25 watt, and 30 watt or turbo mode with the ROG Ally 2023, but do note that I can only try 9 watt and 15 watt on the Steam Deck and not a higher wattage. I did plug in my Windows devices for the 30 watt or equivalent TDP on those sessions. In playing the game, I tried the TDP values at walking, driving, and combat. However, my efforts were only to gain a first impression with frame rates. Do note that the frame rates I recorded do not reflect those generated with AMD Fluid Motion Frames or AFMF enabled through HyperRX on my AMD handhelds and AMD Adrenalin on the driver using Windows. Do look in the video for the different settings and drivers listed for the devices. I include listed game settings such as the in-game resolution used as well. I tried to maintain consistency across testing these devices. However, on some of them, I wanted to show the 900p range resolution as well. So what I ask of you is this. Let me know in the comments, which handheld plays it best, and which handheld are you using to play this game? Also, if you want to deep dive into one of these handhelds for a save battery best settings video, then do let me know that as well in the comments. Also, earlier developments of this video were much longer, over an hour actually, so there is much more detail I can share with you in the comments. I look forward to any of those detail-related questions as well. So instead of giving you video of the process I took, which is more than an hour of video, let me give you what I consider the bottom line. Across all the devices, the Steam Deck did the best with playing the game at 9 watt TDP. Walking around and driving, I would see a range from the 50s to the 70s for frame rate, while during combat, I would see the frame rate in the range of the 50s and 60s. The remaining devices at the 9 watt TDP struggled to hit 30 frames, maintaining instead the low 20s for frame rate. However, the 1X Player X1 surprised me coming the closest to 30 frames than the Lenovo Legion Go, Asus ROG Ally 2023, Neo 2S, and the 1X Fly. This is an older game, but the Steam Deck shows its strength at playing a game without needing as much power to the APU as the other devices do. The Steam Deck would be my choice at playing this game at 9 watt TDP. Moving next to 15 watt TDP, the Steam Deck was able to keep up with the Windows devices. Our Windows devices experienced higher frame rates compared to that of the 9 watt TDP value on them. The 1X Fly, set in the 946p resolution, did not do as well as I would have liked with its frame rate for the game. Walking around and driving rendered a frame rate in the 40s, while combat rendered a frame rate range of the upper 30s to 40s. This overall is a playable experience for me, but I was hoping for more. The ANEO 2S did very well playing the game at 15 watt with the 800p resolution, and I have a history of preferring the 800p resolution with gaming on the 2S than any other because of the favorable frame rates that come with it. On the ANEO 2S, playing the game when walking around, the frame rate was in the 70s and even hit 80. Driving, the frame rate stayed in the 60s and 70s. During combat, the frame rate went into the upper 60s and lower 70s. However, let me not dismiss using the 900p resolution at 15 watt across these devices. The Lenovo Legion Go and the ROG Ally using 900p resolution were lower, but close, within a 10-frame difference actually, to the resolution of the ANEO 2S obtained at 800p resolution. The ROG Ally and the Lenovo Legion Go performed the best with the 900p resolution over the 1X Fly in my experience. So if I were to want to play this game in the 900p resolution at 15 watt TDP, I would choose either the Lenovo Legion Go or the Asus ROG Ally 2023. The 1X Player X1 performed better at 15 watt TDP using the 900p resolution than the 1X Player 1X Fly did at 15 watt TDP using the 946p resolution. The performance on the 1X Player X1 was close to identical to the experience on the Lenovo Legion Go and the Asus ROG Ally. However, there were some occasional micro stutters during combat, but I was very pleased to see my X1 do well, especially as Intel Arc drivers have improved for the device. The ANEO 2S experience at 800p using 15 watt was smoother than the X1 at 15 watt with its 900p resolution. The ANEO 2S experience at 15 watt with 800p resolution was identical to that of the Steam Decks. The Steam Decks, however, rendered a higher frame rate for gameplay involving walking around, combat, and driving at 800p resolution with 15 watt TDP than the 1X Fly could do with the 946p resolution at 15 watt TDP. Moving next to the 25 watt TDP, we continue to see an improvement in frame rates across the Windows devices and no noticeable micro stuttering to occur on the 1X Player X1 during combat. However, the vast improvement in frame rates was not as large as the one noticed going from 9 watt to 15 watt TDP. Across the gaming handhelds with the AMD Ryzen Z1 Extreme and the AMD Ryzen 7 7840U, frame rates increase from 10 to 20, which further improves gaming at the 900p resolution on the Z1 Extreme devices. The 10-frame increase, though, is applicable to the 1X Player 1X Fly using the 946p resolution. The ANEO 2S using the 800p resolution noticed a large increase in its frame rate, moving from 15 watt to 25 watt. Overall, the Windows devices really start to shine as far as their potential to push frame rates in this game using the 25 watt TDP. However, the Steam Deck did not require that much power to push higher frames. With the Steam Deck, even at 15 watt, the frame rates are competitive to the Windows devices with more power allotted to the APU with an increased TDP value. The 25 watt TDP value on the Windows devices using the AMD Z1 Extreme and the AMD Ryzen 7 7840U is not imperative to use to play this game, but if you aren't concerned with saving battery, then you can enjoy the higher frame rates in the game, so it is equivalent to having icing with your cake here. Now, the 1X Player X1, for those that mind the micro stuttering during combat, will appreciate playing the game at 25 watt compared to the 15 watt TDP. Moving next to the 30 watt or the turbo mode with the ROG Ally, the question you may have is, do I need 30 watt or turbo mode to play this game? Well, on the devices using the 900p resolution, the answer is no. Let me explain this though. The 1X Player 1X Fly using the 946p resolution experienced diminishing returns, which directs me to arrive at the diminishing returns being more due to the resolution than so much the APU. See, the ANEO 2S using the 800p resolution experienced up to a 20-frame increase. The 1X Player X1 experienced diminishing returns as well at a 30 watt TDP compared to a 25 watt TDP. Both the Lenovo Legion Go and the Asus ROG Ally, even with the Ally hitting 43 watts and playing the game with its turbo mode, provided no experience of increased frame rates using the 900p resolution at 30 watt TDP. The 1X Player X1 too uses the 900p resolution, so I indeed did see the pattern with diminishing returns happening across devices despite the APU rendering the game at the 900p range resolution. Whereas again, the ANEO 2S using the 800p resolution experienced a gain in the frame rate. I am not making the definitive case here that resolution is the only factor to consider in all cases when it comes to diminishing returns. I am only acknowledging the pattern that I have observed with the 900p range resolution being a common factor in determining whether diminishing returns have occurred in my use case. Now that we have reached the conclusion of this video, let me share with you some important channel content you don't want to miss. Gaming for Insight is a member and one of the founders of the Handhelds United Discord server and YouTube channel. You can find me and other channels you want to know about on this server. So join us on Discord, see the invite to the server in the video description. If you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe to these other channels for additional content on gaming, handheld devices, and more. Those are Gamers Generation, your friendly AI with a sense of witty humor that uploads informative reviews, tutorials, and more. OKS Gamer. You can find the latest and more than OKS reviews on gaming handhelds and benchmarks, as well as videos on performance with certain drivers. CPPC Tech. Known for his awesome mod on the ROG Ally, this channel has reviews and more on gaming handhelds and accessories. Windeck Tech. Find candid and informative videos on gaming and the tech space with gaming handhelds and more. Handheld Hardware, formerly known as Project SBC, get the latest perspective from an astute programmer, designer, and reviewer on gaming devices. Now, wouldn't it be neat if all of these channels, including mine, all got together in one place for, say, a podcast to share our knowledge on everything handheld gaming? Well, as a matter of fact, we do. Subscribe to the Handheld United YouTube channel and don't miss our live weekly podcast that I host on Sundays at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Join in the live chat where you can comment on what we discuss and partake in our trivia nights. Links to the YouTube channels mentioned are in the description of this video. So with that, in the words of Commander Shepard from Mass Effect, I should go.